Hello and welcome to the Advanced Age Role Playing Gamers podcast. I'm Nathan. I'm one of your hosts tonight, and I've got with me Matt. Also, say hi to Matt.
Hey everybody.
Hey Matt.
Hi Matt.
And we've got special guests with us here tonight for our special episode of Two Podcasts, One Cup. We've got the Pink Fohawk guys. So Pink Fohawk guys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves? Who wants to start?
Do it, Ben.
Go ahead, Dan. I vote for Ben.
All right. Start with our DM. Yeah.
I'm Ben. I am the GM for Pink Fohawk. That's all you get for now. You got to keep listening. You got to keep listening to learn more.
Oh, what a tease.
Very nice. Christian, how about you?
I'm Christian, and I'm the least qualified member of our podcast. Both mostly in RPGs. I've played a little bit in college. I played some D&D in college, but Ben and Dan play regularly outside of the podcast, and I only participate in Shadowrun with these guys.
All right. Well, there could be worse ways to participate.
Yeah, I have fun. I have a lot of fun. They do all the planning and all the hard work, and I just show up and play the game, essentially. So I have the easiest road.
Absolutely. And we've got Dan.
Hey, my name's Dan. My name's Dan, and I played Tina Bone. I played Tina Bone Meal on Pink Fohawk, and I mean, just as a general intro, let me give you about a 45-minute breakdown of who we are. Ben and I grew up in Iowa together, went to high school together, childhood friends, made movies together. Ben went off to New York, met Christian out there. They worked at, MTV together for a while and made a bunch of movies together. I met Christian through Ben. We all made movies together throughout the long years that brought us to here. But no, Ben got me turned back onto D&D when COVID hit, like 2 years ago. And he turned me onto a podcast called Dungeons and Daddies, if you've ever heard of it. And I basically learned how to play Dungeons and Dragons by listening to Dungeons and Daddies. So love those guys if you haven't heard of them. But no, eventually I was just like, Ben's been talking because we'd play Shadowrun. And so I was like, let's just fucking record what we're doing. It'll be really good. If nothing else, for posterity, we can get really lonely and drunk when this phase passes and go back and listen to ourselves.
Which we do.
Yeah, exactly. And so we just started it up and it's been a blast. So
I took these guys from D&D to fucking Shadowrun, like a full slap to the face with a fish.
Yeah, that's true. We did start, obviously not as a podcast, but we did start just playing traditional D&D, and he led us down the dark path of Shadowrun
into the shadows.
It's a bit of a like D&D's, I would call it like a kinder, friendlier game, right?
Oh yeah,
even older editions of Shadowrun, a lot crunchier, right? A lot of what's my, I got this many dice here, this, and you're like throwing it's almost like playing a tabletop war game, right? You're throwing so many dice on the table.
Well, and Ben decided to play the second edition, which is like just to make it more challenging and difficult for everybody.
Yeah. So why second edition? So I know like third edition is still really popular, and fourth edition has its people, and fifth edition has its people. Sixth edition nobody plays. Why second edition?
So I grew up. So I didn't actually play pen and paper games until I was like out of college. But I was a big video gamer, and I played the Genesis game when I was a kid. I was one of those assholes with Sega Channel. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but I was a super lucky bastard that had that. So I just go down the list and play games, and I played this game called...
You got to explain what Sega Channel is.
Okay, Sega Channel.
This blew my mind also. Like, I didn't know that existed.
I have no reason to have Sega Channel, just so you know. I lived in this middle of nowhere, Kansas, and Sega Channel was this like test market thing that Sega did when the Genesis was dying, but it didn't let anyone know. They started going to cable companies and letting you buy this or rent this box for $10 a month. There's just like a cable box that you hooked into your Sega Genesis, kind of like the 32X. It plugged into the game slot, and you could get 100 games you streamed a month. And every 2 weeks they switched 50 out. So it was awesome. So I played the entire Genesis library, and anyway, So it's awesome. It's fucking cool. But I was playing down, I'm going through the S's, and I play this game called Shadowrun. I'm like, oh God, I fucking hated RPGs at the time. I was a fool. I was a foolish young whippersnapper, and I didn't know what was good. And I start playing the Shadowrun game. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm playing like an elf, but I'm like in the Matrix, like fucking, this is sick. And something like stuck with me. It's just like gritty. The music was amazing. Like you're in like the Redmond Barrens, and it's like a fucking, it was my introduction to cyberpunk and the whole genre of, low tech or high tech, low life meshed together kind of thing. And then the weird magic angle on it. Anyway, I'll get back to your question. Later on in life, I was like, I always thought about Shadowrun. And then when I started playing D&D, I was like, what about that Shadowrun game? I heard that was like a pen and paper game. And then I went through that whole nightmare where you learn that it's terrible, hard to learn. Every edition has its problems. Like, what do I play? And something
Ben
about
was like a monk, like in the 1600s, learning Latin. He had to learn like a whole new language.
It was like fucking like taking the bar, studying for the bar exam. Like I literally, so I got my book right here. The book, like the art in this book. I love how I'm selling a book from 1992.
Hey, everybody.
Pick up this book.
Have you heard about second edition?
Yeah,
From
it's
1989?
the hottest new thing. But the art in it spoke to me, and just so to be more direct, the feel of second edition to me, it's kind of a more refined first edition, but it's got like it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got kind of that tongue-in-cheek attitude to Shadowrun that I love. I love it. Obviously, if you've listened to our podcast, we're ridiculous. Like third edition got a little darker. Fourth edition got very simulationist. Like got very much darker. And then fifth edition, whatever. It's everything kind of changed from there. But second edition was just something that I was like, this speaks to me. It's the rules. It was really hard for me to learn because the information's kind of all over the place online. There's really not much for, like you said, third edition, there's plenty of stuff, but second edition, there wasn't much. So like a monk, I studied, I figured out all these things, and it took me about 6 or 7 months of just like pouring through the book. I knew the setting already because I was a huge Shadowrun fan, but I didn't know any of the rules. And so anyway, second edition just to me is Shadowrun,
when you explained to me that the new editions, like you can use Wi-Fi and stuff, I was like, that's not cyberpunk. That's Wi-Fi. That's lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
exactly.
I've got 3 editions of Shadowrun over there. I think I've played 2 of them, so like once each. But I had the first edition, and I played it, but I must have like gave my book to somebody or sold it or something. I feel like an idiot because I got rid of a lot of my books I played when I was like 18, 19, 20. All those books I had are just gone.
I've had the experience with video games, selling rare video games and being like, shit, I had that.
Who the hell would have thought that this shit would have ever gotten kind of popular?
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I mean? Like, you made the right choice. You sold the thing. It's just the world just went crazy.
Yeah.
I went to like a local game store and they were selling. It was like $80 for like the original Tomb of Horrors module. And I was like, wow, like, let me go dig around in my basement, see what I got sitting around,
I'm that idiot. Like but the good thing about Twitter is that it kind of made me realize how big this shit is. Cause I didn't really know. Like I was sort of like, I knew like Stranger Things. I knew D&D was kind of having this kind of resurgence, but I was sort of like, yeah, whatever. And then I was like, one time I was like, I'm going to buy like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy those sweet like game science dice, those original dice that you came with like the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. I'm going to buy a set of those. That'd be cool to have. And I look online, I'm like, holy shit. Those things are like $150 to get a pair of the originals, And they're like shitty dice, like notoriously shitty too. So
it's like the old sort of, they look like plastic, right?
Yeah,
like
maybe they're not game
do they have
science.
the A instead of the 1?
Yeah, they're like the gummy looking dice. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all crazy now. But anyway, that was I'm going to first, let me say a couple things. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for bringing us on.
Definitely.
You guys are like, I feel like kinship with you guys. You seem, listening to your show, watching your YouTube channel, like you guys are goofy and you get the feel of you guys just playing like friends at a table.
Yeah.
And we really connect with that. But anytime you ask me a question, I'm just going to apologize. I'm going to totally go off topic and talk forever. So you just got to tell me to shut the fuck up. And we're friends now, so you could say that.
All right. I
Ben, shut the
appreciate
fuck
that
up about all this nerdy shit. All
Yeah,
right?
or Dan can do it. Dan's very good at it.
Well, I just want to. I want to step in with just one thing. We might. Get
We do
to
this a lot too.
No, but what you just said about like, yeah, you guys definitely have an authentic sound, like you're actually friends, like playing the game. Like that's the thing I always try to hit home with like Dan and Ben. If they can go down like a rabbit hole of like production and like making it really good and sound great but I'm always like trying to make it like crappier and be like, no, you got to leave in that moment where I told them Dan to like not do that, and like that kind of stuff. And
he's
like,
our Matt Stone. He's our Matt Stone.
That's what they always, yeah. I just like think it needs to like be fun and just feel like we're actually playing, which we are. But then every once in a while you'll go like, oh, I should say that again, or
I think
something.
like early on we got
no,
a few comments about like a little bit too much table talk, blah blah blah. To me, like I don't have an incredible high level of reverence for all things D&D or what a D&D actual play needs to sound like in terms of a podcast. Like I said before, like I'll stop mentioning Dungeons and Daddies because Ben and Christian and I have talked about that a lot, and we don't want to. It's like we've borrowed a lot of like what they do that's good. But I think it's more just like the way we feel and the way we banter and stuff like that, and how seriously we take our gameplay. And I think that, to me, we make something that's fun for us. And us, I think like sitting down and listening to our podcast is probably like sitting at a writer's table, right? It's like we're almost like we're writing a movie that nobody wants to watch, right? And so, that's pretty much it, right? It's like you're just sitting there revamping, retelling the same jokes. We all tell the same joke about 5 times in a row, and then we have to cut that out in the edit. But but no, yeah, it's like I was listening to some of your guys' stuff today. You guys play D&D, at least the episode I was listening to, like just like straight through and keep going. It sounds like a D&D 5e session that like, and I know you guys play different games, but that I would play normally, where it's like you're just playing the game. With us, it's just like side tangents all the time. So we cut a lot of that out in the edit, but we try to leave in the fun part of it too.
Yeah, we edit. I mean, it's interesting. I started listening to podcasts. In fact, one of my first ones I started listening to was Dungeons and Daddies as well. So I started out with some guys called Roll for Initiative, and they're like our age, and they're like, it's an actual play. So it just sounds like old friends who've known each other forever playing, and they do like mostly Pathfinder, Starfinder. And they don't really do any bells and whistles, not a lot of special effects or editing. It's just them talking. And then I kind of like Dungeons and Daddies was sort of like one of the first ones where it's like, holy crap, like this is like total
tight. Yeah.
Right. Total free play. These guys are pros, right? Like it was still like a really amazing story. And there's no right or wrong. Like, you kind of tilt between like, hey, you're just listening to me play, to sort of somewhere between like an audio drama, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people lean heavier to one side than the other. And, I think it's all what anyone wants to enjoy, right?
Yeah. So, but even with that,
I think for us, we do edit out some stuff. There is a lot of editing of like, like when we're rolling initiative that takes 5 minutes because no one knows how to find the button and roll 20. We get rid of a lot of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we do leave a lot of like some of the banter and the effing up, and we don't really I don't think we edit too rough, right? I mean,
yeah, and I think I mentioned to Ben before too when we were like chatting. Sometimes, and I should stop talking about our podcast, but but one of the reasons that we leave stuff in is because we're doing video also.
Sure.
So we're kind of like halfway between that streaming thing and like the podcast. So if we chopped it up the way we really want to, we probably wouldn't be able to do video because
that's way harder. That you're doing both of those things.
We talked about that when we got
started. Sometimes I really hate the decision, but then I like seeing that we have like 400 some odd followers on and that's like.
And I don't know what's the trade off. What are you guys' opinion on that? Because like,
that's cool.
I mean,
that's great.
Do you think you get a bigger following because you have video? I mean,
I think so.
One way or another, because we kind of talked about that briefly. Ben and I did, at least. I don't know if Christian, if we talked about it, but like, do we want to go down that road?
That quick.
Do we want to like? Because if we do that,
it's a lot of extra work.
We can't cut it much shorter. It's going to look odd. It's going to be a lot of extra work in the edit. Either way, does anybody want to look at my fucking face? Like, I mean, I don't know. At the time, we didn't have feet. Yeah, so it's like.
And I agree. So it's funny is I like to listen to the podcast, actual play podcast. I actually am not a fan of video. I don't like watching us, like it's weird. It's like, I don't like watching them. I tend to like the audio. It lets me imagine. So it was interesting too.
I agree. Yeah.
So, but some people, that's what they really like.
They
and
like
some
it.
people feel that connection. They get to see the facial expressions.
They want to sit,
and stuff like that.
sit in that room with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's cool. I mean, it's so funny. You didn't ask, but I'm just going to start driving this direction. I feel like
Bring it.
In the beginning,
Ben, I've got some questions for you if you want.
Yeah.
I wrote some out.
So, when we first started out, I was very, I've worked in video production, things like that. I know how hard it is to cut a video thing alone. And I didn't want to do anything that was going to be unsustainable in terms of the effort to keep cutting at the quality, just kind of like, let's find this slider here. Like you were saying, I was sort of leaning more on the actual play. Like, let's just play and have fun and we'll tighten up a little bit, but like, let's try to keep it super true. I want people, because really my kind of obsession was I hadn't seen any second edition Shadowrun stuff out there. And I was sort of like, some people might think if we get it too tight that we're just making shit up. And I wanted to make sure people,
or that it's written,
or that it's written or scripted.
We've had some questions about that, like, you write that, yeah.
And it's like no, and so I wanted to make sure and also maybe kind of, it's not necessarily we're definitely not instructional. Don't play Shadowrun the way we play Shadowrun. We play it very fast and loose. But
Christian and I play however the fuck we want, and we just dare Ben to like make us follow the rules
I'm kind
at
of
all.
the goalie, but it's funny because like that first episode, Dan was the one pushing me. First of all, it's Dan's fault that we're doing this. I should thank him, and I also hate him. But no, we love doing it. But it's like it's a lot of work, and it's become more and more work because of how we've been kind of polishing things more and more as we go. But it was funny when in the beginning I just wanted to stay super actual play, and Dan would be like, let's add some more sound effects there, some texture, some atmosphere. And I'm like, fuck, all right. So I throw it in, and then at a certain point, after we got the first episode where we liked it, because it's almost like the first half of it's like very actual play. And then at a certain point, you don't really realize you're listening to like a cinematic moment until you're in it. And that was sort of where I realized that was sort of what our voice was.
It was a good
I
feel,
wanted it to be sort of one foot in both worlds, and you're never quite sure when it's going to tip.
The music has really done a great job at setting the tone, I think.
That's all Ben. Ben has a pro. That's great. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's like so are you buying music? Are you making the music? What's
Thanks, man. No, so I did a lot of research, and I found sort of like these sort of indie, it's just a cool time right now. There's a lot of indie people that like put their stuff up, and they'll be like, you buy the album and then you can use it for whatever. It's really smart. And I'm going to butcher this. I can give it to you and we can put it on Twitter or something. I don't know his name exactly, but I got a lot of his stuff because it just was like, it's so funny because at first it felt way too dark for what we were doing. Because I wanted to originally call us Pink Mohawk because that was the kind of style of play I wanted to play Shadowrun, the very over the top action movie 80s, big hair, bigger explosions. But then that was already taken. So Dan came up with Pink Fohawk. I just thought it was fucking hilarious. Yeah, so we're like, we're doing Pink Fohawk. And the music just felt too dark when I was looking through this guy's stuff. But when I started to use it in the edit, it was like the perfect balance to our, dumb shittery.
Yeah, it gets a little edge to the darker parts of it. Yeah.
It grounds us back into Shadowrun, where it's like, okay, these, John Anderson, or we'll get into more of this, but I feel like John Anderson is the anchor. He's the Shadowrunner, and he's fallen into this
Tina is the total
tier
imposter
of Shadowrunning with this clown.
Bastardization of what anything a Shadowrun or actual play should be. Yeah.
No, but what's weird about
I'm
Tina?
the straight man for sure.
Yeah. What's crazy is that Chris built he actually used an archetype.
Wait, hold on. First of all, I want to say two things. First of all, it's three things. It's funny that we haven't had a question asked, and we've just been riffing for the last 20 minutes. That I think is funny. The second thing is I'm learning something. I didn't know where you got the music from. I've never asked. I just assumed it was from like some audio library.
This is the fucker I have to deal with.
And I always take my
I thought you
characters
wrote
when I
that.
play D&D like straight from the book. Like I'm so lazy. I never roll to like figure anything out. I'm just like, I'll just take the default character and I'll just build from there. Because I hate the mechanics of like setting all that
Shadowrun's
up. I know
crunchy,
some
though,
people
like you
love
said.
that, but I really like the role playing theatrical part of playing Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
or Shadowrun, and like I'm not really super into like all the numbers and
Yeah.
so
Christian and
that's
I
where
are not
lean.
dice.
If
We're not dice
if I didn't
rollers.
play with these guys, I could never play the game because I'd just be like so lost.
Yeah.
Secret confession.
So that's like Tony. But
Everyone's got one. Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about the current story you're doing in Pink Fohawk? And then I've got some
God.
follow-up questions for both Christian and Dan. So
I'm really glad you
Ben,
asked that question because I was like, Christian and Ben and I are just going to talk about production for 3 hours, and people are going to be like, wait, what was the podcast that they do?
I will talk about
true.
production for hours too. So I'm like trying to like rein that in because I was like, oh, what mics are you using? Oh, where are you getting sound effects? Oh.
Like Nathan and Matt, did you accidentally record a discussion with IT group figuring out like troubleshooting the mics and shit?
Holy shit.
No, so I'm horrified that you asked me that question because I have no fucking clue what our story. So here's what I've been doing. Right now, where we're at is we brought Sarah in, who is a friend of Dan's from college. He brought her in, and she was an awesome addition. She's super, she just gels, like her personality gels.
Yeah,
She's
clicked
one of
right
the
away.
dudes for sure.
Which is not easy.
She's terrific. She's
She's
like
a
right
much
off the
cooler
bat, she
dude
was
than
like,
any of us. Yeah. Sarah's
Yeah.
the best. Yeah.
She's the best, and so we are right now. We've released 2 episodes of her character, and there's a 3rd episode coming that will sort of resolve that soon. TM soon. TM next weekend. Next weekend, I'm putting a date on. We'll get it out there.
That
next
is
week.
the goal.
Oh,
That is the
nice.
goal. It's there. It's there. We
Yeah,
just need
next
to do the
weekend it's
final.
going to be ready.
Is this
to
an
go.
exclusive?
Yeah,
I believe it
right
is.
here. If you guys want to release it on your podcast, go for it. That'd be cool. You get
more
it
listens than
exclusively
ours.
here with the ARPGs.
Tell you what, I'll release this next weekend, so you get 2 weeks out of this. So
Look at us. We're marketers. So that wraps up that sort of, and the way we run our podcast is sort of like, and what I really loved about Shadowrun, just as a game, is it's like, it's built to be modular. You're doing runs, so you can kind of do something completely out of left field, and once they finish that run, you have a different person offer a different job, and
Right.
so that really helps us. So like once that story's done, we've found that like takes about 3 episodes to get through a run. And usually half of the 3rd episode is just Tina and John fucking around in their apartment or something. That's just fun to do. But
Yeah.
or more, sometimes a full episode doing that. But that's where we're at in our story. And what we're trying to get into is more of John's mysterious story that Chris has completely thought out and written out. I know.
Oh, yeah.
And we're gonna just dig in
I'm
to
like
find it.
Lucas. I've got a prequel. I've got it all figured out.
So you make it up as you go along. As each news story comes out, you just completely change what you did in the past one.
The way I do it, here's some GM talk. I like to make 2 or 3. This is crazy. Don't do this, or do this. I don't care. Whatever. Do whatever you want. I create 2 or 3 runs, and I'll kind of see how they're playing, and then I'll offer one of them. And I always give them the chance, and they've never done it, but if they were like, no, fuck that, that sounds crazy, we're not doing that. I've got other ones that I just work out a way, like we do as GMs. I've got 3 runs. You're gonna play one of them, but you feel like you could do anything. Oh my god, you don't want to do that? Here's this thing I just thought of, but I completely planned out, and then they go and do it. And if they don't pick the other 2, I just recycle them later on. But that's usually how I make it work. I'll let them hook onto something, and then we go 3 episodes into that, and I just kind of make it up as I go. And I try to, I'll have like, I've got notes of where I want to introduce certain things and different hooks that can get a little deeper into stuff that I'll sort of introduce if it makes sense. And then there's some things that you just make up. Rory is like someone that I just threw in there at the last second. I was like, I think these guys need a little bit of a guide on like, to make them feel badass, maybe.
Well, it's also,
make
you don't
him a
have to
piece of
just
shit.
listen to me and Christian play. We basically make Ben be the third PC.
Yeah.
which
But
is
then,
normal,
and
right?
then he
for a
became
GM,
something
but,
bigger.
like,
I actually wanted him to betray them. I wanted him to be like a guy that just like was an asshole that was going to turn on them, and then it kind of became this abusive relationship that they had toward him, and I was kind of loving it. So it's like, let's keep it going.
Well, for those of you, so for some of the listeners out there, I'm probably Christian and I both, maybe mostly me, are probably some of the least like hardcore D&D people that are probably listening to your podcast / Ben. Like most people probably know what Shadowrun is. If you're listening to this and you don't know what Shadowrun is, in a nutshell, it's futuristic cyberpunk 2053 Seattle. That's our game anyway, right? And then John and Tina. John's a human, Tina's a troll, and we're taking on Shadowruns. I know that sounds simplistic, but I'm just thinking in the back of my head. Some people may not even know what our world is or who our characters are. So so John and Tina are just like, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, that leads me into what I was going to ask is, Dan, can you introduce us to Tina Bonemeal and maybe give us a shadow fact?
Oh, a shadow fact?
Oh, look at Chris.
Oh man. So Tina's she's a
Please do it in Tina's voice.
well, I haven't warmed up yet. Tina. Ben says it's too racially problematic if I go too deep and talk like this.
I was just thinking.
But no, Tina's a 9.5-foot troll, and she's a socially awkward kind of. Not reclusive. She wants friends. She wants to have friends. She wants to meet people. But trolls, we try to stick to the book a little bit when I created her. And, trolls are reclusive. They live under bridges. They live wherever, There aren't a lot of them in the city. But she's actually from the Salish Sheet, if you guys know anything about Shadowrun, but way out in the boonies in like Idaho. And then she came to the city, and she's just a jack of all trades. She likes acting, but she's really bad at it. She's very socially awkward. She doesn't understand what makes people tick. And so she's always studying people to kind of try and figure that out. And in John, Christian's character, she just met the love of her life as a friend. What? And I'm serious.
You heard it here, folks.
As a friend. As a friend.
We're going to do a full episode of them fucking.
No. John, we are outside the shell of the podcast right now. Chris, you have to forget that you heard that, but that's how Tina's feeling right now.
Yeah, exactly. Player knowledge. But you're gonna fuck Tina. John is gonna fuck Tina.
No. Tina's not into dudes.
Out.
And that's the other thing. We're like, Dan, as a middle-aged white straight male, should you be playing a 9.5-foot lesbian troll? Maybe not. Maybe that's problematic for us. But I thought, I like chicks, so maybe it's more, I can play Tina more true if she also likes chicks. So that's kind of, but we haven't really established that. Like, we don't need to, define boundaries. But
Dan's
anyway,
next character is
Tina,
going to be a pregnant woman.
So
just so he can know how they think. And then he can clearly be like, I know exactly what you go through. I play one in a podcast.
Yeah. So that's basically Tina. She's very low charisma. She's a big, beefy meat train, and she can fuck shit up. But she's lovable and not super intelligent. But that's Tina.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, it's an amazing character. And I would say, like, I think it's, and I'm not gonna give anything away, like. But it was interesting, like you say, like she is this kind of like, she's interesting, but she's also, you can't forget, she's a troll. And I think it's like the first encounter, she like just straight up kills somebody. Not even like one hit dead. And it's just like, okay, remember,
that guy's
this is a troll, right? Like,
She
huge, right? Just massive troll just wipes somebody out. I was like, holy.
She's got a quick trigger finger, Yeah, she's a softie, but I do it. Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm just like,
she's a gentle giant that sometimes
let's speed this up. I'm just gonna kill one of Ben's NPCs and see what he does. And but
I've sometimes likened her to Lenny from Mice and Men. Like she's just a lovable person that destroys. Can't help but destroy. She's just a killing machine. Pets too. She pets too hard.
Sides of ships, just all kinds of things.
The
Trying
side
to
of
keep
the
it
ship,
vague.
that was something for me. I was like, shit.
I gotta tell you, I don't know. Again, give things away. My favorite is, and maybe I'm running 2 episodes together, but that entire episode on the boat, and then with the whole like betting and I just laughed my ass off. And I'm not giving too much away because what people. I am telling you, this is story had so many moments, but that whole thing on the boat, and then like the next morning, and like it just. And I always equate Cyberpunk and and in Shadowrun with the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just stuck, right? I don't care how, it's like why in Star Wars they don't have Wi-Fi, right? Like it's never right. It is,
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
not. And this whole idea of like the whole run is done, and they're just like, let's just keep drinking, let's just keep partying, let's just keep doing blow. It's like and in my mind, like John is very much like. Christian Bale from American Psycho. That's like I don't know why. That's the
absolutely.
vibe. Just like I can see him like being mad about somebody's business card or something like that.
No,
right?
I mean,
Like,
I always try to like drop the movie refs because I just feel like exactly what you're saying. Like, just my entryway into this is just like 80s movies, and so I'm trying to like think of like references, and like when I'm trying to describe something, try to bring up some sort of movie reference or whatever.
Like
but
Mel Gibson stuff.
yeah, we were worried about that episode though, like with the just where we were like, did that get too weird? Like there's a couple episodes where we were like, we were just hanging out in John's apartment. We were like,
The
is anyone
BDSM
gonna like
episode.
this one?
And we were like, uh-oh.
But yeah, that's awesome that's your favorite of the stories. I guess I should now answer.
Yeah. It should be. It's your turn now.
Yeah, so I mean, my whole thing is with John Anderson. Like I said, this is going to sound really ridiculous to probably your listeners, but Ben was like, pick a character, and I was like, okay. So I just like went through the second edition book, and there was this guy who was a former company man, and I was like, okay, that's a start. And I worked
And
for
an ending.
like,
And an ending.
and an ending. And I just took everything. No, but I kind of went there, and then I was like, well, I've worked for, massive mega corps, and I've worked for big corporations, corporate jobs or whatever. And so I just kind of used that influence, I guess, a little bit. But basically, yeah, the Patrick Bateman, like I just started building an archetype 80s. I actually started with, is his name Willis, or what's his name from Die Hard? Like the businessman who's
I think it's Ellis.
Ellis. Thank you. Who's like trying to convince the terrorists, like he's trying to use his office presentational savvy to get rid of the terrorists and
Total sleaze bag.
Yeah, total sleaze bag, like cokehead, and I was just like, I thought it would really be fun to just play a total asshole, and that's just like always the motivation. Like, what can John do in any situation to just like either F everything up by accident or just be a total dick? And so that's really my prime motivation. But yeah, no, Ben and I have talked a lot about like where the character might be going, and I think you're almost sort of inspired by my blank canvas because Dan is like a wellspring of ideas, but I can be shaped and melded, and
You're
I
my
can
muse.
yeah, I guess I'm the more of the straight man, and then Dan's just allowed to be.
You're the salty,
two of
the
them,
Tina's
what's cool
sweet.
is
Yeah.
the balance. The balance between them too. It's like because Chris picked an archetype from the game. He's like the standard Shadowrunner. He's like he is Shadowrun as the concept of what the characters are supposed to do and be, right? But then Tina, what's funny is like Dan was he brought me his Tina bone meal concept, and he was just sort of like, I don't know, the way Dan is, he's just like, I don't know if this is anything. It's the way he plays the game too. I don't know if this is Shadowrun, but here's what I want to do. And he like told me this thing. And I go, I don't know how you made the perfect Shadowrun character. I was like, Tina Bone Meal she's what differentiates Shadowrun from D&D from
Well,
Cyberpunk
Dan brings
Red.
in the fantasy elements because, like, with me,
You know
it
what?
would
I
just
couldn't
all
agree
be,
with you guys
like,
more.
I decided,
Just keep
like,
this
I
going.
only.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the
I play
it's
this
that
game
tongue-in-cheek,
perfectly.
like cheesiness, 80s. It's that thing I was talking about, like what I like about second edition, that where it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's obviously dark. It's still a cyberpunk, and it's a dystopian future, and it's that. But then there's this weirdness to it, where a playfulness, And Tina Bone Mill is that. Like, it's like that's what I like to play Shadowrun, because it's fucking weird. It's like. It's
Well, it's
not
weird
just like
'cause I don't
fucking
even- I've never
dark
listened-
shades
I've
and
never
trench
played
coats and
Shadowrun.
playing the Matrix. It's
Ben's nerded
What's
out
that,
on
man?
Shadowruns for. Well, I was saying, Ben, you've nerded out on Shadowrun for years. Christian and I have only played it well, it's been a while,
Yeah.
right? We started back in October, November. We should have more than 11 episodes in 6 months or 8 months, but
Dan's the workhorse.
we were rolling
always
for a
whipping.
while. But but for me, it's like this is all I know, right? It is the pink Mohawk version, right? We're just having fun with everything, not taking things too seriously, which is a good speed for us.
And really, I think that's what drew me in, because the types of shows that I like, I started off with like Nerd Poker was probably the what brought me into listening to podcasts. I listened to the first series a long time ago, and if you haven't listened before, they're a bunch of comedians, but they're also
Hilarious.
friends, and you get that. They're all funny, but you also get that they're friends and they love each other and they can give each other shit, and that's kind of really where I kind of my inspiration for my part of the show. It's not just my show, but that's kind of what I kind of push for, and kind of since I do like the last bit of editing, I things that maybe Matt might want to take out, I kind of leave in,
Yeah, the editor has all the power.
Yeah. I'm sensing tension. I'm sensing tension here for whatever reason.
There are things I give Matt shit about, and he knows what they are, but they don't need to be brought up.
How many episodes do you guys have now? You guys have got around 50 plus?
60 some episodes on the podcast, and a few more on the because we have a few that are on the video that aren't on podcast. So like I do some tutorials
How often do
that
you
we
guys
don't do
an
on audio.
episode?
You wouldn't get them. So
You guys go weekly?
No, we release every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
but we
So
did
you've
a
been going for a
blitz,
while.
right? So when we first came out, and then on our first day, we released all of our Alien episodes.
Yeah.
So we
Not
kind
all
of
of
came
them.
out of the box.
Yeah.
Well, all the ones that we had
asshole.
still. All the ones we hadn't lost.
Just throwing
Wow,
salt in that wound.
That's pretty hardcore, though.
Yeah, that's the way you got to do it. We didn't do it.
I
that
don't
way.
think we
That's
could
smart.
do that. I don't think you guys could sit on that many episodes.
We thought we were going to do that. We didn't do that.
So I have probably 20 episodes that I'm sitting on right now of stuff that because it takes so long for me to edit and do the sound effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we've got 11 or 12 D&D episodes that we haven't released yet.
The second part of the sex drugs. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got 5 or 6
About
more,
6 more, yeah.
Battle Lords that I'm hopefully releasing one Tuesday.
Damn. You guys are like Prince. You got like a vault full of material that you're going to dole out to the world.
Because we record every week and then we release every 2 weeks, so we just naturally have
Just backs
this.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is good because sometimes people can't make it, or we have stuff like last week where nothing worked.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you mean you'd be in our situation?
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That you
awesome.
have that much of a backlog.
No,
and then with
that is
interviews,
great.
this I can do this in a couple days and throw it together and do that like a in between thing.
I love that you guys have all those different facets of it, because it's like, I mean, you guys, they interview the Blade Runner, like the Free League Publishing guys and the Alien. Like, I knew that we were the next logical people to interview after we did that course. So obviously, you're just warming up the crowd for us. It's great.
Well, honestly, the interviews are awesome. Like we just kind of started doing that as an aside. Like it would be kind of cool because I have a friend who does who worked on Necrobiotic and some other stuff, and
Nice.
and it's just kind of fun to do. And then all of a sudden, like every time
They
we
start
release an
sending
interview,
you free stuff.
they
That's what Nathan told me. He's like, just do this and you'll get free shit. I'm like, just do interviews with these awesome. That's not easy.
Just get yourself that free
should get
money.
free
Your
shit.
wife,
You should
you
just
get a
free shit.
different favor from your wife. You're good to go. Yeah.
There you go.
Like out of that.
I think beyond all that now, but
Nice. Yeah.
You know, to go back a bit, like, you know, it's funny because, you know, I played D&D. I started playing D&D probably like right out of college. Ever since I played D&D, it was like, it blew my mind in terms of like, I'm a gamer. I was a video gamer. And it was like, you have video game rules and logic when you play video games. You know, I can't, I'm walking up to this like wall that's about 1.5 feet tall, but I can't step over it. So I'm not supposed to. So
Right.
I'll stop trying. Like in D&D, it's like you can do that. If you roll well enough, you can do anything, really. Like theoretically, in Shadowrun, you can do fucking anything. If you want a target number of 50 and you roll 3 dice and you keep getting 6s, you could do it. And
you just made me think of something that we've talked about that we both like about Shadowrun is that other than D&D is that like you can die like pretty easily in Shadowrun, which was yet to happen yet. But maybe you should tell them about like you have like multiple idea. I guess you can't reveal too much, but it's like D&D. Like there's always something that'll save you.
mm-hmm.
You know,
D&D is pretty cushy, but fifth edition makes it pretty easy to survive. And honestly, it's like the more
one of our biggest fears though is dying. All of us dying.
Well, we were
It's yet to
new.
happen.
We were new to Shadowrun. I never played it played it before. We're doing this podcast. We get these characters that we love, and I'm like,
I just don't want to roll another
lethal
character.
system. Like
It takes so long. Shadowrun.
I think what I really love about Shadowrun too is it's like, to go back to your very first question. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna make this easy for you editing, so you can just. I'm gonna edit this. I'm gonna lay this out like a Shadowrun core rulebook. I'm gonna put my answers everywhere throughout this fucking podcast. But no, what I love about Shadowrun is it's like about second edition specifically is they wrote the rules. They were defined by the lore. So like a Street Sam is super wired. He's super fast, right? So yeah, he gets to go, if he rolls well enough, he can go fucking 6 times before anyone else gets to move. And from a lore perspective, that's awesome. Like that, from a gameplay perspective, not so fun. But from when you look at the way they wrote the book, it's so true to the feel of what Shadowrun is supposed to be. And we've house ruled it. I'm using third edition initiative rules where, yeah, John is super wired. He gets to go first, and then he can go multiple times after everyone else has gone first. That's like kind of how I tweak it to make it a little more fun to play. Okay. But I love that Shadowrun was written that way. Shadowrun second edition was written in this way, like, no, fuck you, this guy's faster. So he gets to chop everyone down like an anime before anyone else gets to move. And that's just it. Like, that's the way it is. And there's an attitude to second edition that I like over other editions where they started to try to balance it for this thing called gameplay and fun and ease of use. But you can tweak those things, and we have, to make it a little more balanced while you play. But I just like that attitude, the direction they're coming from with second edition. They didn't give a shit whether you liked it or not. Like, that's the lore, you know? I don't remember what I was talking about now.
No, but you know,
I was wrong.
Someone help me.
Shadowrun, people keep coming back to it because they love the lore.
Yeah.
So, you know, just the fact that you're able to kind of take it with mostly just, you know, the most of the time it's just the 2 players, and you make these runs and make these stories, and it's consumable and easy to understand and entertaining, funny. You know, that's like no small feat. So
I think it's
honestly,
the perfect game.
like, kudos,
I think Shadowrun is sick. Ben talked us into it, and it was like we were playing Ben and I were playing 5e in a different game altogether, and I was just learning that whole system and DMing that one. But I was like, okay, I'll learn this thing. And Ben's warned us, like, it's super crunchy. It's gonna be really low. And it took us fucking like 3 weeks. Like, we almost like didn't start the game because it took us so long to build our fucking characters. And we were like, man, are you serious? You know, it was like, and we did it. It was a blast. The thing that I love about this world, and I've said it to Christian and Ben a ton of times, is that it lives in our world, right? It's this futuristic world where we can borrow, and Christian's our big fucking movie guru. He's always dropping the movie references, but I love that that's what grounds our podcast. in like the world that the listeners live in, right? So like Tina's uncle is Mel Gibson or whatever. Like we can borrow from fucking anything we want. Like we can anything up to 2012, we get to reference as history,
pretty much canon,
world, right? Yeah, it's totally canon. Anything's fair game, and it's so close to where we live. Like, because the game was written in '89, and now it's 2022, and the Sixth World, like when everything happened to make Shadowrun, the goblinization, whatever the fuck it's called, Ben would know, happened in 2012 allegedly, right?
You got it.
And then the world takes place in 2053, so we're living right in the middle of this in 2022, where we can borrow from people who are probably still fucking alive, but now they're probably 80 years old in 2053, and so it adds a lot of layers of like fun that we can play with. Right. So I think Shadowrun's really sick for that reason alone. It's like I love 5e, I love D&D, but that's the cool thing, and it's runs, right? It's like it's the perfect like one last job, right? You can make them. How many movies are there made about the one last job? Let's do one more run together, and it's just so accessible. So it's kind of the perfect storytelling vessel, I think, which is what makes it really cool.
I've got this weird like I want Shadowrun to be more accessible. I mean, everyone does. Everyone that loves Shadowrun wants them to come out with an edition that everyone points to and goes, "That's the one. Play that one. It's easiest. It gets most of things right." It just doesn't exist. But I love second edition. I just love it.
Get to work, man.
I'm working on it. And I just feel like this Shadowrun second edition evangelist a little bit. Like I want to let people know, like, I am an idiot. I'm an idiot. I don't know how to fucking do math. Okay. And I'm playing second edition Shadowrun. I sat and figured it out on my own. And you can too. Like, so I'm thinking about maybe doing some video tutorials or something sometime just for second edition, because I don't see those resources. I see them for fifth edition, a lot for fifth edition.
Yeah.
And third edition, like you said, there's a lot of people that will at least share that info because a lot of people played third edition, but second edition, not so much. And I think it gets a bad rap for being like, people call third edition like the better second edition. And it's not true, because as a core rule book, second edition's much leaner. Third edition is where you start to get that thing where they took all the source books of second edition, rolled them all up, did a few tweaks to make it a little more accessible in terms of like rules, a little more streamlined, but took all that information and put it in one big cool rubric. Great value. But if you're someone new coming to Shadowrun, it's a lot of shit. You're like learning 3 different games when you're learning one game. You're letting learn the Matrix, a whole other game. Magic's a whole other game. Second edition really is the leanest edition core wise, and I just think there's a place for it. I think if you're coming to Shadowrun new, it's a pretty good one to learn. I really think so.
And we still
kind of
play
put that out there
with kid gloves on. You know what I mean? Like Christian and I are just like, fuck it, let's do it.
You can choose to go deeper. Like you can get I've got the source books. I haven't really used them yet because I don't have a rigger or a decker really. John's dabbled. John does a little archaic decking on the side, and he actually, what was funny, we realized
I do have a pretty cool thing that we have yet to. Well, should we reveal that? My driving skills.
We looked at his equipment. I was like, "Holy shit! You bought a fucking vehicle control rig?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You're a rigger."
We've never used that.
When did you find that out?
Last session.
Yeah.
So we were just like, I was like, we need a driver. And then Chris like looks at his sheet for like the first time in the entire series. Is like, I have a fucking.
Well, again, taking something from the book, it's like, it was news to me too. I was like, oh, sweet. Or maybe I added that one. I can't remember.
I think you might have actually added that one. I might have
actually added a couple of things.
Because I think you wanted to be a motorhead a little bit, and you kind of.
Well, it's a heist thing, so I think maybe I wanted to be like a wheelman or something. It's like that's the cool thing. It is like a heist.
We're definitely not playing traditional Shadowrun in the sense that like we have a bunch of specialists. We're playing with 2 players, so I kind of let them kind of round themselves out a little bit. Tina's obviously a bruiser, but she's got some of these gadgets that she uses. And impeccable acting skills to get as a face to get in and out of places,
and an amazing set of costumes, right?
Yeah,
stripper uniform.
She's got all the costumes you could want, just none of the talent to front them. Yeah,
right. And then John, he's got the archetype, but it's like I wanted him to be able to do a little bit of decking. He has a computer skill, so doesn't have a cyber deck, but he can hack some things old school, and he can also
we joke that I can hack stuff like oh god, why am I blanking on the name right now? But like the kid in Terminator 2 kind of thing, John Connor, you know, like, like
easy money, big money, big money.
Yeah, those are the extent of my hacking. No, but it's a little deeper than that. But
right.
So yeah, I can imagine like if somebody wanted to play like a full on Decker, like how quickly would you have killed their character?
Oh my god, Rory would have outlasted them. I mean, he has. He's hung in there. They've kept him alive.
Back then, the decking was like it's like playing a different game completely. If I remember correctly.
It is. I mean, here's the thing: you can play it however you want, right? So there are like Shadowrun companion books that came out that have made decking a little easier. They basically say flat out like you can make a decking check as just a skill roll, a computer skill roll. Like you can reduce it to that and then and that's kind of how I play. If it's not going to be exciting or interesting, just fucking roll a dice and see if he does it or not, you know? And then if it gets to a point where, okay, now, you know, guards are coming in this door. We need this door opened up so we can get out. Now get granular, get in there. You're in the system. We'll go by the book on all the different rules. I'll still obviously flavor it when he's doing the dice rolls to make it feel like he's in the Matrix, but it's like, it's not a dungeon crawl. You know what I mean? Until it needs to be. And I think that's the way you should play. I think that's how I play Shadowrun. That's how, if anyone's worried about it being too crunchy, they should just know. I don't think there's a lot of information out there for people to know that you can run it pretty fast.
This is as far over my head as it would be over Tina's right now. I tell you that much.
Yeah, I want to get back to something people
Kristen
give a shit about.
Kristen and I have no idea how to play Shadowrun, and we've been doing this for like 8 fucking months. I'm telling you right now.
You guys have gotten good at it, man. You guys
tell
have
us
figured
when
out
to
how
roll the dice, and we just all we gotta do is just
now. We do know something.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Well, and for players, I think you grabbed on to the setting, and that's the important thing for the players is know your character, what they can do, and know the setting. So this is the world I'm in, this is what I can do, and this is what I'm supposed to do, and then do the opposite.
Plan everything, and it all goes to shit.
So I think you've got that part, and let Ben like adjudicate the okay, roll this many dice, and let him worry about that. Mm-hmm. So right. I think you've got that down. So
it works. It worked. And again, Chris, I sometimes have to explain to him his worth to this podcast because he's like, I don't edit. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm like, no, you are our canary in the coal mine. Like, as long as you still show up, it means you're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm as close to an audience member as possible. Like when the podcast comes out, I'm listening to it for like the first time, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Well, that's awesome too. I mean, just
Chris, you're like, it's cool that Podbean just adds that music when you upload it, and I just shatter my beer bottle with my fist.
Exactly.
No.
But yeah, it shows that you're having fun, and that's what brings people in.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fun.
You wouldn't have gotten nominated for an Emmy if that were the case. So do you want to talk about how that felt when you got that news?
I didn't give a shit. I'm going to tell you right now. I didn't give a fucking shit.
Because I'm always on my fucking phone.
You told me. I was like, what? I was like, oh shit. I tell these guys, they're like, what?
That is
I was
true.
like, what's an Ennie?
Was it Ennie and an Audi? You know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
that was awesome.
I wanted Tina to do a Twitter post about her Audi. I ended up doing it for you, but speaking of Ennies, she has an Audi, a massive troll Audi. Because umbilical cords are the sides of fucking fire hoses. Troll umbilical cords.
We didn't go to what was it? Is in Indianapolis?
Yeah, Gen Con.
Indiana.
Yeah. And no, that was really cool. I mean,
it felt good.
It's
Nathan.
hard. It felt really great. It
nice.
felt like we made it. We were owed that. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding.
We want to get you that soundbite. We loved it. We were honored.
Well, I'll tell you what. So from like a perspective, so Ben, Christian, and I all made movies together for years. Very independent movies, right? Like nothing you've ever seen before, but we love making. We love making them. We're storytellers. But like we've been to film festivals before. You never really know. Like Ben told me about innies, the outies, the eenies. And I was like, that's awesome. How big is it? Like, is this a big deal? I don't know. Is it's really cool? Like, I knew that Ben was submitting to it. But and then we checked out the other podcasts, and they were really cool. And
yeah, it was a good group. That was what made me feel good, because I've submitted to film festivals, like Dan said, and you see some of the other films, and you're like, oh, that sucks. Like, I don't want to be a part of this.
Like, do I suck? I'm worse than that.
Yeah, so it's nice to have a good group of interesting.
To seriously answer you, it felt like, because there were like 80 people that submitted, and it felt like to be nominated felt like we won, because it was sort of like the judges picked us. These are people from all over, like, different walks of life from the TTRPG scene. Like, it was pretty cool that they thought ours was good. We were only 10 episodes in. We just started, and they were like, this is good. So that was it. And then the rest of it was kind of we were able to like be able to laugh at the rest of it. Cause it's a popularity contest to win, and that ain't happening.
Yeah. we already knew that was going to be the outcome.
Some of them been out for years and whatnot. So
Chris texted me, he goes, great. He's like, all we got to do now is lose this thing.
Yeah.
All we got to do now is get all 200 of our listeners to vote about 50 times. Yeah, we'll be fine. Or maybe more like 500 times.
Right. You're right. We could have been immoral about it. We stayed moral.
No.
We stayed true.
No, but either way,
it felt,
at that point,
awesome,
who cares? Being nominated was great. It was really cool. It was validating, right? It was cool. It was cool because we did put a lot of work into it.
Like, you don't do this for the likes. You do it because you love it. But the likes push you. Just play along. No,
we don't do this for the fame and fortune.
No. I have like a wine cellar behind me.
That's Chris.
But no, it pushes you. It makes you go like, fuck, people care about this. This is pretty cool. Like that, and that's what we never have with our films. No one, it's never had people that were like, when's the next one? No one asked that. And so when people ask us for this, it's kind of like, fuck, yeah, that's cool. Like we do need to get our asses in gear, get this next episode out. And so we're going to get it out next weekend.
We are.
It's a big
I'm willing
community,
it to happen.
And it's an appreciative community.
Yeah,
at least
I would agree. Yeah.
I think we've had one comment we had to delete, right? From someone.
Tears
and
the
it just
worst.
wasn't, it's an embarrassment, right? Yeah. It just was not a thoughtful comment, right?
But you risk that when you do your OnlyFans and put it up there.
And the wiki feet, sometimes you get bad feedback.
Only dads.
You're crushing wiki feet. You're crushing it.
But no, I do, and you guys. So I think it's been fun. I love watching the way people interact online, and so it's good, and so it must. I was pretty excited to hear about that. Like I said, when Nathan said, you got to listen to these guys. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll listen. And I was like, wow. Like, no, like he said, they're a lot better than they should be coming out off the bat. Gosh darn it. So
it's like we sucked.
Well, thank you.
We had to suck for a long time before we got any good.
Well, like Dan said, we have those films that will never.
They
shall not be talked about.
Yeah, we transitioned out of the failed.
You suck too. Just not.
Can you work those into the story somehow?
I don't think so.
Oh, I've thought about it. It's just, no. That's
We're going
Tina's
to
Tina's
premiere
next
of
show.
this
Fact,
movie.
yeah.
But I do think.
The video link URL is something like put it out there. Make
there
people
is
look
something
at it.
though that Ben, like when we first started getting people listening and stuff, like we got some comments and Ben was like kind of disappointed because maybe we just sent it around to some friends of ours and he's like, they keep telling me like the production value is awesome, and Ben was like all insulted because he's like he wanted it to be about the creative, like his story that he was writing. But I kind of talked him off the ledge. I was like, no, that's good though. It's like the reason why he was insulted by the production value thing is because he is an editor, like video editor. So like, he didn't think that was like the part that should matter, like, especially with our friends. Cause it's like, that should be obvious that I know what I'm doing in that regard. But I think the important thing is that our friends are not the people, that we're trying to reach. Like it is regular people, and the production value does matter. Cause if you listen for like 2 minutes and the production value sucks, like you're not going to get far enough to find out whether it's any good.
Right.
And so I think it does matter if you're can do that part pretty well, and that's you know, it lets people into like the creative part of it. So,
and that's been honestly like, so we've referenced this a few times joking, but like we've been hanging on what, our 11th or 12th episode that we haven't released in a couple months because we've been on a hiatus. And it was partially because Ben moved from New York City to the Midwest, and we're just kind of getting resettled in, and life got crazy, and you know, I travel for work, and Christian travels for work, and we all got young kids, and so it's life got fucking nuts for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
But now we're ready to get right back into it. We've got a couple episodes ready to go here that are already recorded, and one that's pretty much done.
Yeah, we're not as far ahead as you guys, though. Jesus Christ.
Right. Now I feel impotent.
Well, wait till you get to our age, so.
Oh, no.
But no, like that. But that production side of it, it takes a little bit of time. But Christian was talking about like production and like how good things should be. But we've had the same hiccups you guys have had. You said you lost some episodes that you had. We had episodes where Christian literally had to ADR his entire episode over again because we found out in hindsight that his external, recording device had just pops in it, like 3 pops every second. And so he literally re-recorded everything. The most recent episode that we're about to release right now, I've done some ADR for about an hour of my stuff. And so it's just like, it's those little things that like drive you crazy, right?
But those things also, like, but if you're new to the production part, that'll kill you.
Yeah,
I think the good thing is like we've done that stuff before. So
we've weathered those storms. You guys have gone through it. You guys, if it happens to you guys now, you know exactly what to fucking do.
Well, so I don't make anybody else do anything. I ADR'd myself, but when their audio is bad, that's why I take so many other side recordings, because I'm also doing like a recording of the whole session here too. So if something screws up, I can grab that. So I do a lot of that, and I lean on Isotope RX a lot for stuff, and it just sometimes stuff just sounds bad. And
but even like pro podcasts, you listen to like Mark Maron, and he's like, "Oh, this audio is fucked up here." I mean, it doesn't happen often, but like I've heard of people do that. You know, like Conan O'Brien, like I don't know, like people who don't.
They do
have,
the disclaimer up front, like we got fucked up, so now.
No, but when you're doing it remote. Yeah, it's hard, right?
Yeah, our first 4 episodes of Alien, I do a disclaimer that said, "Hey, this is super funny, but the audio's going to suck until episode 4, so just bear with us, or just skip to episode 4 and listen there."
Yeah. Right. You get sick of it. Don't hit stop. Hit next.
Are you guys located like in the same state, or like?
I'm in Maryland. He's in Virginia. Then we've got somebody in Tennessee. Somebody in New Jersey.
So we're dealing with that problem too. Like that's a huge issue. Like they're in different time zones. Like we're all in different time zones.
Yeah,
we're luckily in about the same time zone.
Yeah, right? We're all in the same time zone, just different states.
Yeah.
Now we're spread out. I was in East Coast with Chris earlier, but
I envy though, like people who can get in the same room and do a podcast.
Oh my god,
See, that's what I keep coming back to. I don't know.
Fuck those guys. Fuck them.
Like I love the autonomy of being able to isolate audio tracks and like clean things up, and because like inevitably this is what happens.
That's
especially
true.
when we brought Sarah in. Sarah is fucking hilarious. The 4 of us would be riffing. We'd be on a side tangent, and like 2 people would be telling 2 different jokes at the same time. They're kind of in the same vein because of something relevant just happened in the gameplay, but like Christian's laughing at Sarah's joke, I'm laughing at Ben's joke. You can't hear either of the jokes, and you don't know why people are laughing, but you can just move things around a little bit without cheating too much in terms of how the story gets told. But you still get to hear both jokes, and you still get to hear the laughing. And I think some people who are actually really good at gameplay and like, we're gonna play, TTRPG, whatever game you're playing, D&D, whatever. And it's a little cleaner that way. But if you're like us and you're just riffing all the time and you are doing a little more table talk, like it gets really muddy. And so the idea of putting 5 people in one room would drive me nuts. But maybe it would be clean because you got eye contact and you're like, you have nonverbal communication. Maybe it is cleaner if people are in the same room. But I love that freedom of having isolated audio tracks.
My opinion on that, I think it actually fucks them a little bit personally, because I think that
what does
here's my thing. I think that one of the biggest differentiators between podcasts some people know to let someone talk and cut out the other audio and let that happen so that they're not all talking over each other. And I think when you're in a room, you naturally do that. And you talk over each other and you can all still understand what's happening. And I think when you're separate, it kind of makes it more obvious if you're out of sync. You know what I mean? Like you're not all you can't all hear each other. You're all talking. And so you have to repeat it again. And so you can edit it to make sure everyone understands what's happening. Whereas I think sometimes I hear people playing all in the same room and they expect us to all be in on the joke that they all experienced all together. And you can't tell what the fuck anyone's talking about. You know what I mean? When they're all there. So actually, I think they probably had a lot of fun that we're all completely feeling cucked by. Like, God damn it, you guys get to fucking play like an actual, RPG together in a room the way it's supposed to be. But I think at the end of the day,
I would say we would probably have 30 episodes out instead of 11 right now if we were playing that way, because there'd be a lot less editing. We'd be probably just like ripping things out and not spending like 30 hours editing an episode, which is probably what we do, to be honest.
We originally wanted to make this much more real play. And then it sort of then we had our sort of more, and it still really is, but we build those sort of cinematic moments around. Okay. I'm going to suck our own dicks for a second. I'm going to suck on Chris and Dan's dick a little bit. I want to tell him, I'm going to tell him.
I'm here.
Everybody, here we go.
I'm got a little video. It's fine.
Anyone watching this far wants to see it. Let's be honest.
Let me grab a beer real quick before you start.
But no. Yeah, get a beer. I just got one.
Go ahead.
So when I started playing D&D, I played with different groups, and you just sometimes you can have a lot of fun, but it's not the group you want to. It's sometimes you have your way of playing, and it doesn't always mesh, right? And it's kind of this game of I can't think of the word, but you're sort of like making concessions. No, but like you make concessions. It's not exactly how you want to play, but you have you do the yes and you keep playing, and it's fun, right? But always what ate in the back of my head was like, I want the perfect group. I know it's this, great white buffalo you always achieve for scheduling reasons or because they don't play D&D or whatever. But when I really sat down and I listened to Dungeons and Daddies and I saw how they played, it was like, finally, I don't think we play exactly like them. They're much more intellectual. Like I said, I'm an idiot. But that was how I like to play.
Notice how no one jumped in and said anything.
I'll wait for someone to correct me. When I thought about it, it was like, okay, Chris doesn't really play D&D much. Dan doesn't know Shadowrun at all, but Dan's my best friend from high school. Chris is my best friend after high school. I just know the way these guys are creative, the way they play, the way their storytelling ability, they're cinematic. They think that way. They're able to like actually, enunciate what they just breathe cinema, the way they talk, the way I kind of luck out as a GM that way. They paint half the picture. The way they describe when Tina gets in her boat and she opens up and the lens flare from the lights on their boat from the garage door coming up and I can kind of build sound design around those moments. And it's just like, I think that's what our special sauce is. It's just sort of like, it's just really these two, the way they role play. I can lean into that from an audio perspective and make those moments like big. And honestly, it's like from a filmmaker background, like, I love podcasts because I can blow up a building. Like I can't do it. If I want, I can write that script, but if I want to make that happen on a film, that's fucking hard. I don't know how to do that. But with a podcast, I can make
anybody
it
can be Christopher Nolan.
They describe crazy shit happening. Right. He can go eat his ass out. It's fine.
I mean, yeah, he could.
You sound
on 70 millimeter.
No, I've seen it. It's very black market film.
Nolan's only fans on 70 millimeter.
That's the only fans I want to see. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like that's been they make it honestly easy. That's sort of when I started to play with them, I started to see how this thing could be different. The way we play is just, that's sort of our own brand. And we can kind of go into those. And I know other people also do cinematic. I know you guys also have moments where you bring in, you build your own you're crazy, man. You're like a audio savant with your sound effects that you build. He crafts his own sound effects.
It's super fun. And it's something I went to school for and never got to really explore as a real job. So this is like
you're like Foleying your sound.
Some of them, yeah.
I'm doing
That's
a lot
sick.
of my own stuff, and
That's
then
awesome.
Nice.
I get a lot of stuff from libraries too, but I always like layer it or tweak it or something. I hardly ever use anything like, straight from the library.
He
That's
takes
badass.
his stuff everywhere. We had a get together at the house, and he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I set up my things and everyone can record zombies?" And so like he had my kids and everybody.
That's
Like, we're having like,
awesome.
okay, sure. Like everyone's in the other room, everyone's drinking or watching, and the other people in the other room, I can hear him. Right? So he's like everywhere
so
he goes.
cool.
He's,
Wow,
and-
that's cool.
It turned out awesome too because everybody does a zombie different way, but they all still sound like zombies.
That's awesome.
So
All the world is indeed a Foley stage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I mean, you got the H4. Just take it out and record shit.
Yes, technically I could.
Dan, is it Dan?
You're leaving it to me. That's
I'm like, is that right? Could he? Maybe we will rely on some of that.
If you listen to like some of these sound design podcasts where they have like people that do work on the shows and stuff like that, they're just recording shit around their house half the time.
Yeah.
right.
Dan does some of that. I know. I can see him there. I'm the one that's underselling him, but he does do a lot of our Foleying our sound effects and things and stuff. I just don't go through the fucking awesome isotope.
I actually had no idea
layering.
that Dan did that. Dan's over there like,
It's like nobody talked to Chris. Is this like okay? Let's
telling
not
you,
tell Chris.
I'm telling you, what I do is I come on, I record, we play the game. I don't see any of the work that goes into it, and then I listen to it the way a listener listens to it. So I really play it like it to me, the experience is going on and playing a Shadowrun with your friends like that. It's pretty pure, and I don't know if that has anything to do with I don't know if that makes it into the final.
It definitely affects
it does.
the way we play because it doesn't. We don't play it like a production. You're playing it like a game. And again, if Chris shows up, it's a good sign. It means we're doing something. The story's fun. The way he's playing is fun. I make it sound like Chris is flaky. He's really not. He's a consummate.
I do show up on time. That's
He's a consummate
contribution.
Consummate professional. He really is. But when it comes to the podcast, he's more of a visual guy, and the podcast isn't really scratching the creative itch all the time for him. So the way I have to kind of keep him, the carrot for him is to make it just a fun hang and make it a fun game. And it really puts it to me, it makes it a more pure experience. It makes it fun for me too, because.
But I think it helps too.
We
like
promised
being a visually
Christian all
creative
of the
person.
podcast money is what we've done. He's going to take all of
Chris
it.
puts his pants on, he shows up, and he gets nominated for Ennies. That's what he does.
Easy,
hands
guys.
on, impressive.
It's easy.
Yeah, Matt, not always pants on.
No. Nice.
Like that's why remote is so good, right? It's just like,
That's
you
just
just gotta have the shirt on. Everything looks good from
You're not
about here
wrong.
up. It's not even a real
not
shirt.
wrong.
It's like a half shirt.
Nice.
nice.
Tied in a twisted dot.
The bottom cam is for the Patreon fan. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the secondary feed. So
Pay for that tier.
wall.
The ball feed.
It's the Blue Falcon tier.
Sorry, you had
Sorry,
something. You were
cut
saying
you off
something
there.
serious, Nathan.
You were
I'm
going to
sorry.
say something, and I thought I'd crack a joke. Go ahead.
So what I think in presentation, like we've talked to some other people. We talked to the Tabletop Journeys folks last week, and we're talking about like how a lot of especially on Twitter, a lot of the folks are streamers, and it's okay. It's one guy's show, and then they invite other people in, and they're all like, very actory, and they're great, and they put a lot of effort into their characters, but it's a completely different feel than like gaming with your friends. And when Matt and I started this journey, and this is all Matt's idea, by the way, I was like, hey, I don't want to lose the fact that this is our Tuesday night gaming session. This is our Tuesday night gaming session, and I want to feel that way because that's really what I enjoy about like Nerd Poker and some of the other places, and because you can't fake that.
Yeah.
Like people who listen to it,
I agree.
They know, like, even though if you're saying you're spitting out inside jokes and stuff like that, they may not catch on the first time you spit out the inside joke, but eventually, if they stick with it, they'll be part of that. They'll feel like they're at your table.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
And we ran into that with we were like, okay, we're a podcast of 3 dudes, right? So first of all, 3 dudes. We got no female presence. Is that going to hurt us? Who cares? We're doing it because it's fun. I don't give a shit. Yeah. But we don't know anybody else who's going to be more fun or a better fit than the 3 of us for this setting, right? Like, there are plenty of people we know we played with before. We're talking about bringing in some other people we know we played with before. It'll be a lot of fun. But as a core group, the 3 of us, we know that this will be a good feel. It'll be a good flow. It'll be really fun. But we've been thinking about, like, who do we bring in? Because we need to mix it up a little bit. It can't just be Dan and Christian, one guy pretending to be a lesbian the whole time, the other guy being, John, and like, it's going to get old, right? So I kind of push, like, let's bring in a female, because who wants to listen to just dudes talking all the time? But Sarah fit.
You're in the wrong industry.
No, you're right. But to your point, it's still got to feel real, right? It's still got to feel like it's your Tuesday night session with your friends. And that's why we really lucked out when we brought in Sarah. She's not going to be on every episode, but we're looking forward to bringing her back sometime in the future when she's
but I think that was the
available.
key too, is like showing up is important though, right, Dan? Like, I mean, that's like to get people who can consistently show up is tough too.
Yeah.
It's a tough expectation.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, but like,
especially if they don't
that,
do this.
That group of people who feel like they've been your best friend forever, even though Ben and Christian never met Sarah, but like she came in, she did great. Ben and Christian and I have known each other forever.
She made some pact with a demon somewhere. I don't know how she fucking did
that.
We
were really careful with who we chose to bring in to make it feel like it was still that Tuesday night session, and like it just still flows, right? Because you don't want it just to bring in, let's find somebody who's talented or an actor or an actress or whatever and bring it in. But like, does that take away from like the side riffs and that chemistry that you have with the people that you do your thing with and
not to get like controversial. I don't, because that whatever, but I know there's like obviously the Twitter argument on like the session 0 and all that shit, right? I think that is a huge statement as to like what time we're in with TTRPGs and with streaming scene, because like you said, that it is necessary when it's a bunch of people that don't know each other, never met.
Yeah.
You do need that. You need to sit down and talk about what's safe and what triggers you and whatever.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And when you're just friends and you've known each other forever, like, that, and that it's like, I feel like people aren't understanding that on each side of the battle. It's like, dude, we get it. You're like, you guys are like 45, you've played since you were 12, you don't need a session 0. That's fine. These people are like professional streamers, and they have they're from different backgrounds, and they are like different types of playing, and there's triggering things for them, and they haven't done this together before. So it's like,
that's true. But the other side of that, is like,
it's a different style.
We've had this guy, and I want to ask you guys about this, because this is just podcast asking podcast. Like, we've had to do a little bit of self-editing and be like, okay, do we want to answer for this joke? Do we want to answer for this joke? Like, we've cut stuff out, sure. Every podcast who does a podcast knows what this is like, right? So
that's like the biggest editing that we have to do is taking out.
Right, and that's most of what we do, because it's like you are a little bit too comfortable with your closest friends, and like you're just on your fucking 8th beer in your basement on a Saturday night, and it's like, and you say something that would go just fine in a comedy club anywhere in the country, right? Because in a certain setting, anything is okay. Right.
So Dan is a flat earther.
Even with cancel cut.
He doesn't believe birds are real. So we have to edit some of these things out.
No, we do. We have so we don't really have hard rules, right? But and our group of friends are like, we're not even just inside of a closed room. There's stuff that we just don't say, right? So we're pretty decent human beings, and
sure. Absolutely. I would say the same.
We try to we try to keep out, like, we don't really keep in any like we don't really talk too much about current events or politics. We have a few key we've had to edit a couple things that people have said. So if we think something might be offensive or we do. It's not a lot. We leave a lot.
Yeah.
It's interesting what people find offensive and what they don't. Like some of
there's some stuff that I question that is messed up. Leave it in. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've done that too. We shouldn't have let that one go to.
Yeah. We have a safe word. I'm going to put it in the chat just so you know it.
Oh yeah.
And whenever we say
time to cut it.
that section automatically gets cut.
Right. That's a delete marker.
So and it kind of echoes because everybody will start saying it, and then it's like, okay, we need to like just
we've
take out
had
that whole
that
section.
discussion though many times. The three of us like being like, we try to keep. Yeah, we try to keep it as clean as we can, but inevitably, we always wind up cutting something because it's not even just. It's just like, I don't want to have said that, and it's not might not even be like super offensive. It's just like I don't know. Somebody has something weird. They were like, I regret that saying that, or that sounds stupid, or like sometimes if it's a bad joke. We'll just cut it.
I'm pretty lucky.
You asked for a Tina shadow fact earlier tonight, and I tell you, we cut a Tina shadow fact earlier a few months ago, and I'm not gonna break the silence. It was a good one, though. It was a good one. Though. And,
you want an exclusive?
You can tell us off air. So.
Definitely.
No, but that's one of those things. It's that and like. Not to change the topic, but like you asked about music before, like, do you buy your music? Do you do your own stuff? Like, yeah, we bought some music. Actually, the next episode that's coming out, tune in because Sarah actually sings BOHD as Boz, the big old heavy dick song that she references.
Oh no!
She gave you a taster, but then we have an actual recording of the song coming up.
Awesome!
But no, it's. There are so many times where it's like we'll do something where we reference Hall & Oates and we're like, oh, let's get some fucking Hall & Oates in here. Let's get some real, because it's like, who cares? We're never gonna make a dime off this fucking shit anyway. But we've stayed away from that. We've stayed away from the proprietary or any intellectual property that we can't break, right? Just in case someday, just in case someday. We want to make $18 whole from Manscaped. It's like it's which will probably
we're respecting intellectual property laws just so that we can eventually one day make money off of a game we didn't make.
Yeah,
exactly.
We try to also. Everything we have is paid for. So
it's funny because like going back to like the Twitter verse of the TTRPG scene too. It's like, I hear that it's a business now. And I think that's also like, you hear a lot of people being like, I'm trying to make money off of this or whatever. And that never was really our goal. Cause I never even thought that was possible. First of all, like that's insane to me that people
You're getting paid for this.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Kudos to them that they are obviously better at this than we are in terms of marketing and all that. But, we kind of had to have like a come to Jesus moment where we all sat and thought like, what are we doing this for? Like we love doing it, but then the production gets really hard sometimes, bogs us down. And we ultimately kind of landed on like, we want to see how far we can push this thing. We want to see how many people we can get to enjoy it or, at least shout out that they dig it. And so that's sort of what's been pushing us forward with this thing.
It's great getting actual like feedback from listeners. You did get a couple of questions in my Twitter, not a whole lot.
That sounds about right.
Well, I'm not super popular, so
First of all, I'm going to shout out one fan.
Something tells me it's not you guys.
This is so funny too. Just a little inside story. If you can cut this if you want.
I love how we keep cutting them out. It's like,
I'm sorry, but
it's not an interview or anything.
One of our fans, like a super fan, like came out of nowhere. His name is Matt Orr. I don't know.
Oh my God!
You referenced him tonight already. Yeah.
But I didn't know where he came from. He came out of fucking nowhere. And then one day I saw him interacting with you guys, and I thought mistakenly that he came to you after coming to us. And then as I heard you talking to him, I'm like, I wrote to Nathan, I'm like, wait, did you give us Matt? And he's like, yeah, I gave you Matt. I handed you Matt. I'm like, fuck yeah, man. He's like the best.
Yeah,
He's
awesome.
he's like the epitome of like the super supportive fan, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you really want to get. I mean, he's out there, and I think it's great, right? Like it's awesome. What did should we say about what he offered?
he says, where can I get my pink Fohawk only answers coffee mug?
You can get it from me, Matt. I've got 2 of them sitting on my tabletop right now.
Oh, yes.
And I've actually got 2 that I've meant to mail to Ben and Christian about 5 months ago, and I still haven't fucking done it. But it's a good thing because Matt moved out of New York. So
You can get
Matt's
Matt mine.
yours.
You can get Matt mine.
Matt, you find out how
Matt,
to get
it's
a
yours,
hold
buddy.
of somebody, get us an address, and it's coming your way. I promise. I promise.
Now, in the Pink Fohawk world, a questions only mug is actually a Ramada Inn mug, but they've just scratched out the name and written questions only underneath it. So if you want an authentic lore mug, we'll have to create that for you, but we have a branded mug.
You'll have to steal it from the Ramada Inn.
You can
How
create your
dedicated
own.
are you, Matt?
It's a DIY project, really.
Yeah,
Be true.
we've promised to make a Matt or NPC and then kill him off.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I should do that.
That's great. Show him the love.
Yeah. I mean, if it were me, I would want to be killed off by somebody's
yeah.
show. It'd be super awesome. So feel free to include me and kill me off in a future
Oh, do not
episode.
tempt Dan. Any real life reference he can use, he will use.
So I've also got a question for Dan here. Tina Bone Meal feet pics. Is that?
Feet pics?
That was
Yeah.
yours.
Oh yeah, sorry. That was me. That was my.
Is that a question? With the upward inflection, it sounds like a question. So I mean, it wasn't a full question, but yeah, no, fuck yeah,
Pics or
I
they didn't
got
happen.
Yeah.
I got Tina foot pics for days.
Get the AI art on that.
Yeah. Ingrown toenails through toes, like between actual toes.
Ingrown
mesh.
toenail from big toe to second toe. Yeah, I got some of that coming your way. Yeah, absolutely.
I got a question for you, Dan. How
Yeah.
is Tina's third toe longer or shorter than her second toe?
Her
He knows
third
this answer,
toe?
I can tell you. Yeah. Is that a weird
Are
question?
third toes commonly longer than the second toe? Bigger than the
Never
big
mind,
toe?
dude. Thanks. God, just ruin it.
Oh god.
It was a great question. You ruined it.
The answer is Tina doesn't have a third toe. She lost it in an accident when she was 16. Her ingrown toenail goes from her big toe to her second toe, and then her pinky toe is actually as long as her big toe. That's the answer.
Wow, you really you have this mapped out.
That's what I was trying to get him there.
Yeah,
and all he took was a little push. He's got Tina completely figured
I
out.
love when Dan dropped something. He's like, and it took forever for us to like create our characters. I was like, no, it didn't. I said like 6 times. It took me like 5 minutes to create my character.
I went through 6 editions.
Clearly, Dan wrote like the Dead Sea Scrolls.
There's no fluff information on troll toe size.
Oh shit!
Does that answer your question?
This has been so good. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Dude,
Thank you
is
for
fun.
letting us rant and rave.
And you guys are really our first fans. Like really, honestly, like when I started putting stuff out, I think I had like 20 or 30 Twitter followers or something.
I don't even know how I found you. It was like I think it's the graphic, and it's like and like.
Yeah, Ben did that
I've
graphic.
listened to a bunch of different Shadowrun podcasts, and none of them really scratch the itch.
But you were looking for Shadowrun stuff. That must have been the only one.
It showed up on my feed sometime, and I saw the graphics like, Shadowrun, and I tried it, and I listened to the first episode. I was like, oh shit, this is great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is.
That's
And he
cool,
started
though.
posting in our Discord, hey guys,
Yeah.
you gotta listen to.
I think there's only 1 or 2 episodes out when I found you guys,
That's
and
It was
and,
early on, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, this is like, if I could sound like this, that would make me so happy.
Oh man,
That's the highest praise, man. You
that's
guys-
high praise.
Thank
it was really serendipitous. I feel like I didn't. It was sort of like at a time where I didn't really know how to use Twitter. I didn't know how to do anything. I still don't know how to use Twitter. But I put something up there, and it was again. It's like those kinds of things push you to keep making it. you see someone go, "This is sweet," and you go, "Fuck, okay, guys, we like," and I tell
Yeah,
them
that
all
keeps you
excited,
alive, for sure.
and then we just like it's the lifeblood of any of this stuff for anybody doing this. So thank you guys, thank you for this interview. Like you've got useless footage to you, like no one cares about any of this, but thank you for humoring us and making us feel important. This was great.
I guarantee at least 15 people will watch this. And people,
You promise?
Well,
I
we
promise.
appreciate you exposing us to your audience because obviously you guys are a lot further along than we are. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, weirdly enough, we've been on the Finland charts, the Finland podcast
Nice.
charts.
We're rocking in
like
Sweden.
3 months in Sweden too, like in and out.
Was it you guys that got us on there?
We popped onto the Finland chart for one day, and it popped us right back on. So you guys are holding
Must have
steady.
been you guys, your plugs.
We haven't been up.
Is Matt or Finnish?
No.
That looks like a Finnish
You're gonna get back on there. I swear. At this Finnish, they love a good podcast. So they have great taste in podcasts. I have
There
to
you
tell
go.
you.
It's because it's
That's
winter for
impressive.
so
Super
fucking
impressive.
long there. That's why.
It's Twilight 2000. That's why we got there because they. You know.
It's dark and depressing. And
I've never played. I really want to play it.
2000.
But that's what you recommended too. I remember when you were recommending us. You're like, if you liked our Twilight 2000 stuff, like here's this Shadowrun podcast, and it's So thank you guys. I mean, this has been on.
thank
You guys
you.
are fucking cool.
Seriously.
I'm so glad we got to meet you guys in person finally. This was awesome, man.
Outstanding.
Thanks
you.
for coming. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have the great rest of your evening. I'm going to go walk my dogs.
Nice.
Yeah, me too. And then I'm going to hold you guys. So next week, right?
Next week,
Yeah,
Next week.
definitely.
you can count on it.
No, it's been said. It must be done. It shall be done. It will be done.
I'm going to finish
Yeah,
the rest of this
we're
beer
getting
and stare
back
at a
at
wall
it.
for the rest of
And
the
we
evening.
started recording more stuff, so we're
Awesome.
Yeah, we're back on the. We're recording. We're recording 7 days from tonight.
It's releasing right now.
But thanks, guys.
Okay.
See you
Yeah.
guys. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
thank you.